Hey, what's up, dude? It's me, Mr. Aaron here, the Aaron the History Buff again. Welcome back to another video. So, in today's video, we're going to be covering over the history of Christmas here. So, if you guys haven't seen my last other videos, I've covered all other holidays, such as the history of Halloween and the history of Thanksgiving. But in today's video, we're going to be covering over the history of Christmas, because since Christmas is getting close, and so I thought maybe because that's why I thought maybe we might make this video here, and it was basically celebrated, as a tradition that's by all Americans, but it hasn't basically Christmas hasn't changed always that way. So in this video we're gonna be going over the history of Christmas, how it's basically evolved, how it just shaped, and the way it basically is celebrated all the way today. But before we get into this video, if you guys haven't yet, please be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel if you're new. Don't forget to comment and turn on the bell notifications. That way you get notified by every video that I'll be posting in the channel. And yeah, let's get started to it. All right, here we go. So basically, guys, the history of Christmas dates way all the way back to the birth of Jesus, probably around the 1 AD, around the December 25th, who has that was basically his birth. That was basically marked as like December 25th by the church. That marked his birth, and around the third century. But the date was chosen to use it already. The date, popular also into the Roman holiday, into Saturnalia, which was dedicated to the Roman god of agriculture and harvest, and as well as also into the Yule, also popular with the Norse and Germanic tribes, where a midwinter festival focused on the winter solstice and involving bonfires, Yule logs, and aggregated symbols. But they also danced and like basically sang songs and music, but also played like basically had drinks, and they had food and all their customs and all their dramatic traditions here. And the date selection of the December 25th was also chosen by Pope Julius I in the 4th century, aligning with the Roman Sol Invictus of the Unvestible, symbolizing of the Son of God here, which is this was basically the early part of the history. Basically, it's interesting how they both evolved and started and evolving the cultural and like basically evolving and that are eventually shaping into the what we now do today, the celebrating of Christmas. Okay, so let's go to next. All right, so let's going all the way to the Roman period. So, did Constantine the Great and the Romans invented Christmas? Well, yes, because the first emperor established the 25th to celebrate Christmas in 336. That was basically after when he like signed and basically an edict that were basically to also faith of adopting of the faith of Christianity and throughout the Roman Empire. However, the origins of Christmas and the date of December would be traced back also into the ancient Greco-Roman world. So, like, basically, in other words, that both the Greeks and the Romans had basically, before they went to war with each other, they basically also kind of traded, and like basically all the customs and traditions and the cultures of the similar custom traditions and the food drinks and bonfires and all the Christian traditions that they passed over to like from traded with one another between the Greeks and the Romans, and how they basically celebrate the way they back then had to be celebrated all the way from Christmas here, but way before the collapse of the Roman Empire from the barbaric, many of like before economic turmoil and like the reign of agriculture and many barbaric invasions. All right, so now let's go to the 17th century. So we in by the 1600s, the Puritans had outlawed Christmas, considering to be too extravagant and pagan. However, King Charles II had reinstated the holiday when he returned to the throne. So basically, after when the Puritans and and the pagans had basically and the Pilgrims had been like they will all go all the way settled into the early American colonies, like in Massachusetts. They basically had banned all Christmas because it was like basically too pagan and too aggravated and exaggerated. So, and anyone who would be basically be celebrating the Christmas, like adding a tree or decorating it, would be basically would get themselves caught and then basically you get put into jail, and but until eventually they would get executed. So but however, the king or Charles II had been basically, but it was Christmas had been also been banned also during the also with the English after the English Civil War under the Commonwealth of under Oliver Cromwell here, who was the head of the military dictatorship, where he basically also banned the traditions of Christmas also too here, and because it was also kind of similar to the same reasons also like what was happened before into the American colonies here, and but that was basically reinstated until in 1660 when King Charles II reinstated a holiday when he returned to the throne here, and later also into the American colonies was then later reinstated, and then later became an official holiday in the U.S. later in 1870. So in the colonial America, Christmas celebrations in the colonial America were different than how it's celebrated today here. Like some of the colonists, like the Puritans, and denounced Christmas as too pagan, and and because like back then in like the 19th, 18th, 18th, 19th century, they basically had the Christmas trees. They basically gave out presents and gave drinks. They sometimes gave out dances, and they also sometimes sing the songs there, and yeah, and so but going through also the German settlers here, the German and other European settlers have popularized Christmas trees in America in by the early 19th century here, and basically the Christmas trees where you basically today like where you decorate that you put in many people's many all of their homes here, and by the time like basically when it was after like when America had became popular in a Christmas holiday in the 1870, and where they basically people get drinks and have fun, open gifts and say stockings and celebrate fill bites and all that good stuff that they can all celebrate there. All right, now let's keep going. All right, so going to here, way back. So the Council of Tours, back in 567, the Council of Tours had established the season of the Christmastide, which was included to the 12 days from the Christmas to the Anfalini. The Protestant Reformation had significantly impacted Christmas, with some reformers, like Puritans, attempting to abolish it due to the lack of explicit biblical command and Catholic/pagan associations. Banning celebrations for a time in England and celebrations in England and in New England. In some religions, Christmas has been banned entirely. Like for example, some like it was basically back for and it was banned entirely like in the English Parliament in the service of Christmas like in 1647 by King Charles by Oliver Cromwell in the Commonwealth of England here after the English Civil War. And because like basically they do pagan and they say they manufacture and people don't like because basically because of a heretical because of heresy and also the Bible command of abolish because also due to the command of Catholic and pagan associations, and that's basically the same reasons. But it was also banned in around 1659, and the Massachusetts Bay Colony also made Christmas celebrations later illegal here until basically until they reinstated into the 19th century. And that's why basically and reinstated, I mean they basically restored the whole celebration of Christmas. Like they restored basically the Christmas trees. Then they delegated because back then they delegated with basically candle lights here, and they also basically gave out some presents and foods and stockings and traditions and foods and customs and cultures and that was being celebrated and drinks and all that kind of stuff here, and snowball fights, and people and have fun of their traditions, during the 19th century here. And there was also during popular in the Victorian era in England, which I'll get to the poems later, like Charles Dickens, and during around the Victorian era of England too here, which I'm gonna get to right now. All right, so here's Charles Dickens. So in December 19th of 1843, Charles Dickens had published a book called The Christmas Carol, which is a story that was miserably Ebenezer Scrooge, who had visited the three ghosts, past, present, and future, on Christmas Eve, showing him his selfish life, the poverty of others, like Bob Cratchit's family and Tinny Tim, and the bleak of the future if he doesn't change, leading to his profound redemption into the generous kind of man who embraces the true spirit of Christmas. The book is a powerful critique of the Victorian social inequality, advocating for empathy, compassion, and the possibility for a personal transformation, emphasizing the even of the poorest that can find joy and that they all can have a chance for the to be better people here. All right, now let's go here. All right, so going to the 19th century, the 19th century transformed Christmas into a rowdy, often shunned holiday into a family-focused commercial celebration that we know today, largely through the Victorian era, like key American publications and influential figures like Charles Dickens, Queen Victoria, and Clement Clarke Morone's 1822 poem called "A Visit from Saint Nicholas," establishing Christian traditions for Christmas. Like I said before, like the Christmas tree, Santa Claus's modern image, and the gift giving, cards, carols, and drinks, and also like mistletoe. Don't forget like mistletoes and Christmas pictures and images, and as well as also and as well as like many others like Christmas dinners and all that kind of fun and all that basically kind of fun stuff here. But until it was then leading to become a federal holiday in the U.S. by 1870. All right, so now let's go all the way to the 20th century. If we're specifically going to do the start of World War One. So the Christmas truce, which is known as the Christmas Truce, in World War One in 1914. So the Christmas Truce was basically an unceased fire that took place on the Western Front during World War One. It was a series of a spontaneous, unofficial ceasefire under the Western Front of World War One, where the Germans, the British, French, and also Belgian soldiers had laid down their arms to exchange gifts and take photos, and as well as chocolates and also as play football in no man's land in a rare moment that shared humanity amidst to the brutal trench warfare, and that began with German caroling and Christmas trees, surprising and delighting the Allied troops. So basically, let's celebrate Christmas together, and basically let's get out of our trenches and let's take away drop all of your guns, your weapons, and your grenades and all that stuff, and let's celebrate Christmas together and celebrate it all together as brothers and everyone here and friends. And it wasn't end all and basically to give drinks or play football and give cards and basically take photos and sometimes gifts and cigarettes or food and but basically it wasn't all peaceful and everything, and it wasn't universal, but it was widespread places that showed a live and let live attitude through a higher command disapproved, and it never reoccurred in such a scale. Well, so basically what happened was that the British soldiers heard German soldiers singing carols and patriotic songs on Christmas Eve. The soldiers met on no man's land on Christmas Day, and the soldiers then later exchanged the gifts and took pictures and played football. But the soldiers had buried the casualties and repaired trenches. But basically, the Christmas celebration wouldn't last long, as the day after the Christmas traditions, they all went basically go back on basically on heavy fighting here and through to the trenches here, and But yeah, and so yeah, I want to say, guys, just I hope you guys. So yeah, and that's pretty much it. So thank you guys, and I hope you guys basically enjoyed this video. And if you guys did, if you guys learned something new here in the history of Christmas, and yeah, so let me know in your guys' comments down below what you guys find it interesting in the history of Christmas. And yeah, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and and if you guys did, please be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel if you're new. Don't forget to comment and turn on the bell notifications. That way you get notified by every video that I'll be posting in the channel. And yeah, so yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. And also, Merry Christmas. So, Aaron the History Buff, out. Bye-bye.